loved it, loved it.
But I couldn't tell you which X-Men were more accurate to the comics or whatnot. He could. So when I watched the first X-Men movies, I was more of a fresher view than him. I mean, you'll see on our other reviews and everything, we're a very diverse X-Men point of view. But we both really fell in love with Wolverine on this.
Hugh Jackman is just incredible.
He is. And Logan really pissed us off, which made us so much more hateful of this movie.
Especially since it was supposed to be his last hurrah. But that remains to be seen. You know, maybe they'll get him to come back and do a Wolverine Deadpool movie, or, you know, fingers crossed.
One thing that I do have a question that I want to tap on before we move on, that was not mentioned in a lot of subjects, conversations. What about X-23 and the possible stunting of her growth because they're putting adamantium on her bones at such a young age?
Which doesn't grow along with your bones, which means her bones are stuck that size for the rest of forever. Something that nobody really touches on, ever.
That kind of bothers me.
However, I have not read any of the comic books that have X-23 in them, so maybe there's an answer for that in there somewhere.
And there might be an excuse.
For you guys that have an answer,
yeah,
put that in the comments.
Put it in the comments. I mean, maybe there's an excuse for a small little warrior.
Yeah.
You know, small-sized warrior can get into places.
Wolverine didn't get his adamantium bones until he was already grown. You would assume that the same would need to be true here.
Yeah,
in order to not have a Wolverine midget.
A kid can infiltrate more things because they look innocent more.
But in the comics, she's not a kid. She's a grown frickin' woman.
There you go. That's why we have the difference of opinion. I didn't even know that until this very moment.
Yeah, well.
So it kind of ruins my point of view, but they could make that different in the movie. I don't know, but if they make her get older.
You know, if they do an X-23 movie, she's probably going to be, you know, late teens, early 20s or something like that.
Or at least the same actress, a couple or a few years older.
Yeah, which they might do because everybody praised that kid for the great job she did in this movie.
She did do a good job. I just don't like the writing.
I do believe, as far as her acting ability, she did great. Just lousy storytelling. I mean,
with what
comes
direction?
Down to lousy storytelling.
With the direction she was given, I thought she did brilliantly. If that is exactly how she was written, she did her best that she could possibly do.
Yeah,
and really pulled it across.
I will agree.
Which comes to another point that is now off unoriginality onto the rest. Why does she not speak, not help, not do crap, then speak Spanish?
No excuse for that at all.
And then she has superhuman
she sits there
strength.
And eats a bowl of cornflakes while everybody else is outside trying to protect her and getting their butts whipped.
Yeah, just watching the video, not caring, not giving much of a crap about anything.
And then accuses Wolverine of not caring about her later in the movie.
But she doesn't speak, doesn't put anything across to him, nothing, doesn't help him. Then speaks Spanish only for some reason.
Yep.
Making him think that she can understand English but can only speak Spanish. And then all of a sudden she speaks perfect English at the end to have that heartwarming ending.
And to send him on guilt trips periodically throughout the film.
What is that? Very uneven character. Again, she does a brilliant job of pulling it across.
Yeah, just lousy storytelling.
The storytelling is terrible.
That's the Achilles heel of this movie, is just lousy storytelling. Lousy and lazy.
I don't understand it. There's no excuse for it. It kind of is a slight reminiscent of Rush Hour, which was a comedy. Now,
she's talking about where Jackie Chan doesn't speak for the first section of the movie and then only speaks Chinese, and then a little bit later you find out that he actually speaks English. But in that it was a gag.
Yeah, it was delivered better.
Yeah.
It was paced better. It had a point. Hers had no point.
Yeah, there is no rhyme or reason, no purpose for it at all, and it doesn't even make sense within the story.
She almost acts like a feral child, where she attacks that person at the convenience store and almost kills him. And he's like, "No!" Great moment on the freaking preview, hilarious. But in the context of the movie, makes no sense.
Makes no sense. We're going to be using that phrase a lot during this review. It makes no sense.
Let's do one of the other big ones.
We're only down to the second point. This is going to take forever.
This is going to be one of our longest videos.
Yeah.
Too many F-bombs. Now, I was raised by a sailor. It has been one of the hardest things to do these heated reviews without using the F-bomb every other sentence. I have been trying to limit it to easier stuff that's allowed on regular cable, like bitch.
Like poopy.
No. Hey, shut up, bitch. You know, simple stuff. But I have been tempted to even use the worst, the C word. And we have been writing thoughts, and I've actually thought this word, and
stay on
he's
topic.
like, So I'm just trying to make my point. So if I am willing to use that much in my own daily life with people I know, the fact that I felt there was too many F-bombs. What? It felt pushed.
There were so many of them, it was sickening.
Now, he was raised very goody-goody.
I'm still a goody-goody.
Yeah.
For people that know me.
You don't swear. Me being raised by a sailor, this is again one of those different points of view kind of thing. But when I'm raised by a sailor can use the C word in certain circumstances, and here he can't even really swear in normal life with even his best of friends, and we both think that there's too many F-bombs, there's something wrong.
The point is, they got the green light to make a rated R movie when Deadpool did so well, and so, we're going to go out of our way to make this a rated R movie. Really, the only thing they needed to add were cool fight scenes. For people that have played the Wolverine Origins video game, that's how this movie should have been. And we got little snippets of that here and there in the fight scenes, but that's really all this movie needed as far as,
to make it an
R rating.
One of the better parts is the fight scenes.
Instead, we get a massive amount of F-bombs, a pointless booby shot, and a whole bunch of other stupid stuff that really adds absolutely nothing to this movie other than change the rating from PG-13 to R.
Now, when I heard the big speech about Patrick Xavier,
It's the
Patrick Stewart Xavier mix. Patrick Xavier. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. Shut up. When I heard his big speech about him being an old man and her being a young chick, and going on this trip and him dropping the F-bomb, I laughed my butt off. I just thought that was so perfect. But then when I watched the movie and every other sentence had an F-bomb, I was like,
it was disgraceful.
That's too much.
Absolutely disgraceful.
If they would have put it in here and then, that would have been perfect. Because I can see Wolverine using the F-bomb.
Oh, yeah. Wolverine's the kind of guy that would use the F-bomb.
But even Xavier, in his feeble state, wouldn't have used it as much as he did. He would have used it about 1/4 of the time that he did in the movie. Which is saying a lot. Because they use it quite a bit. And I think it's about the same for Wolverine as well. They could have cut it down 1/4 and worked it beautifully.
I mean, we're talking like Jay and Silent Bob here, how much they use the stupid F-bomb. They use it so much that you're just bored with it, and it no longer even has an impact.
See, I'm so used to it. I was this close to singing the Jay and Silent Bob.
Yes, let's not do that.
Anyways, let's
move on to the next point.
Making Logan weak. We kind of
only when the storyline calls for it.
Yeah, we touched on that of being unoriginal with losing his powers.
And being a drunk all the time.
Being a drunk.
Yeah, it's almost like they try to paint this picture of him being this feeble old man.
Which can kind of make sense, over time, maybe his weakness would go down. But they tried to pin it on the adamantium poisoning and stuff.
Yeah.
And
apparently that's actually true within the Wolverine comic book lore. But again, don't read Wolverine comics, so don't know. But it did not work for this story.
But we did kind of watch that whole, what is the old man Logan story before we even watched this movie to try to get a little bit of it.
I got a little bit tired of Wolverine just like tripping over himself for this entire movie and X-23 having to save him. I mean, Wolverine getting saved by a little girl over and over and over again gets a little boring. So then they had to come up with this cool little serum thing so that they could, have a couple of scenes where he actually gets to kick butt again. They could have just done that the whole movie and written the story a little bit differently. But nope.
Well, that's kind of what they did with the Old Man Logan original story, is that he did have some weak moments, but he had some strong moments, but it was way better written.
In the Old Man Logan story, Wolverine can still kick butt. He's just decided to not do that anymore and live in seclusion. So when the chips were down, he starts kicking butt again. That's in the Old Man Logan story.
That's a little bit better.
Not here.
Let's see here, Xavier.
Here, he's just an incompetent fool for the majority of the movie, which is really, really annoying. I mean, this is supposed to be Hugh Jackman's farewell piece, and for me, it felt like this whole movie was just a slap in the face to all the hard work and dedication that he's put into this character, which is one of the reasons that it makes me sick to watch this movie.
And one of the things that made me sick, he may be a total Hugh Jackman Wolverine. I'm a big Xavier. And the way that they portrayed Xavier really pissed me off.
Yep.
He was shown so feeble, so weak, so there was really no rhyme or reason to nothing that he was going through.
Yeah. Other than the fact that he'd just have one of his crazy moments whenever it was convenient, and then not whenever it was convenient. Whatever they needed to do to advance the storyline.
Let's show Logan taking him to the bathroom for no reason, but he's being totally reasonable talking-wise while they are taking him to the bathroom, which makes no sense.
Another just stupid scene.
But another point where he's putting him into bed, but keeping his wheelchair so far away that if he ever did need help, he couldn't even reach his wheelchair. And this is stupid. It is so all over the place.
Not to mention Xavier's little, mental fits where, everybody around him starts
vibrating?
Yeah. And Wolverine, for some reason or other, is immune, which, again, makes no sense. Wolverine doesn't have any mental powers, and neither did the Wolverine clone, and neither does X-23.
I will admit that the whole casino hotel scene was kind of awesome for me.
It was pretty cool, but it made no sense.
But it made no sense. It felt like I was watching a different movie. It was like it was awesome in a different movie, but when in the context of the movie, it made no sense.
That's the problem with pretty much every cool scene in this movie, is that the context behind it makes no sense. They just go from one butt-kicking scene to another butt-kicking scene, and the stuff in between, it's like there's no rhyme or reason how they got from point A to point B. It's like, oh, well, we need this to happen, so we're just going to throw some random BS in there, and then that's going to happen. Bada bing, bada boom.
It was a big mishmash.
I could write a better movie than this. In fact, I am. But
hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully that'll be on the YouTube later. Moving on to our next point.
Caliban? What was...
a character from the comics that was absolutely pointless to put in this movie. It was kind of like putting Gambit in Wolverine Origins.
Let's mess them up so that we can never use them again?
Yeah. Probably most people that saw this movie don't even know who Caliban is. He was a very, very low-profile character in X-Men comics. And spent most of his time hanging out in the sewer because, as they showed in this movie, he can't handle the sunlight. So why is he out there in the frickin' desert? The last place that you would ever find this guy. Now, maybe it's because he was hiding from the government or whatever. Fine. Hide from the government in the frickin' Amazon somewhere.
I got the feeling from not knowing anything about Caliban that he had something to do with the downfall of the X-Men and the other mutants.
That's what they hint at in
That's
this
why
film.
I got the feeling of it.
Yeah.
And the reason that he was hiding out in the middle of the desert, even though he doesn't do well with sunlight, was because he was feeling guilty.
Yes, and that would be the last place they'd look for him.
And he was kind of helping save the last mutants, Wolverine and Xavier.
Unfortunately, we find that they can, the people hunting Caliban can pretty much find him whenever they want, along with, finding a woman in an absolutely random hotel room but can't find her cell phone, which is like
in the drawer in the
nightstand? Right next to her dead body.
Oh, but she can find Logan, who she has
no connections with,
no mutant abilities, nothing.
And
She's
finds
just
him
some
very,
woman.
very easily. Oh, there's a limo driver over there. That's got to be the dude I'm looking for.
At a funeral. That must be him. She can find him, but the bad guys can't find him. But the bad guys can find her, but they can't find her phone. And that's how they find him. Yeah. Which is in a drawer right next to her.
The best compiled video on it ever.
Yeah, that is very conveniently put together.
Convenience for advancing the story.
You can watch our videos, and we don't even have that kind of stuff.
Yeah. People may think this movie's awesome now, but I'll bet you just wait. Give it 5 years, and everyone's going to be like, oh my god.
It's going to be one of those things of the moment.
Yep. It's going to be a Phantom Menace movie. Okay, let's see. Where were we?
We found her phone conveniently with convenient footage, which she should not have been able to done herself.
Yeah, I love the fact that she's like in the lab filming the people from like this far away.
Yeah, and they're like,
nobody says, "Hey, put that phone away."
Yeah. And her voice the entire time.
Not to mention the video editing.
Yeah, the editing. Her voice is over all this other footage.
She manages to throw all those little clips together, plus narrate it in one tidy little package.
And yet the very beginning is, if you're fighting this, I must be dead. In the room she dies in, so she must not have had like a day to do all this editing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And why even leave the body there? Wouldn't it be easier to just like
clean up everything?
Clean the place up and make it look like she'd never been there, and then dump the body in a ditch someplace, or. But nope, we're gonna leave the body there so Logan can find it. We're gonna leave the phone right next to her
there
so
with
Logan
all
can find
the footage, so he knows exactly what's going on.
Yep.
Let's talk about the bad guy. Now, I thought the bad guy was very unoriginal and forgettable.
Boring. Nothing memorable at all about this guy other than his accent, which was stolen from Val Kilmer from Tombstone.
Now, I didn't find out since recently that he's actually supposedly a real bad guy.
Again, I have not read the Wolverine comics, but I'm being told that this is an actual real villain from Wolverine comic books. So if that's true, at least they made an attempt.
But how close they were, we both don't really know.
I mean, this is Wolverine's farewell. I wanted a frickin' memorable bad guy. A bad guy that people would talk about, like they do with Darth Maul or something like that. Or, something.
Give me a Loki of the X-Men.
I wanted Omega Red for this movie.
Oh, that would have been good.
I'm, I was a little PO'd when, that's what we got. It's some guy with a mechanical hand that doesn't seem to really have any mutant powers at all from what I've seen, and he's just followed around by a posse with automatic weapons the whole movie.
Yeah. Very, very
I love that scene where he shows up at Wolverine's hideout or whatever, and they start shooting, and he's like, "Don't shoot, she can heal." It's like, well, what did you bring the guns for then?
And then later they shoot.
And then immediately they start shooting again, like the very next scene.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. One quick thing, one of the other convenience things is I found that she's a young kid, and I know she has strength and healing and everything just like Logan.
Yeah.
She can carry Logan by herself and drive a vehicle in which she's way too short to reach the pedals.
She can't even reach the gas pedal. Yeah, which they never bother explaining. Convenient.
Very convenient. And another thing...
But again, we're back to the Wolverine road trip thing. It's just she was doing the driving this time.
Yeah, but another convenient thing is they're always talking about once we get across the border. Wait, what? Once you get across the border, what?
Or why they even need to meet at that specific location that they found in the comic book. When there's nothing there but, like, a little frickin' log cabin on the edge of a cliff.
That can be a meeting point. That can just be a meeting point, which is fine. But the point that the bad guys are like, we must not let them reach the Canadian border, and it's like, what happens when they reach the Canadian border? It's all woods. Once they reach the border, it's still just woods. You can still just kill them.
Maybe a bunch of Canadians show up.
Maybe the bad guys lose their powers once they're in Canada.
Or they lose their citizenship.
No. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Bad guys don't follow logic, so
yeah.
This doesn't make sense. It doesn't say so and so or somebody. They could have even said somebody's going to be waiting for us across the border to help us.
Not to mention the fact that you've got 20-some kids, or however many of them there were. It hardly shows any of them ever use their powers.
And the one time that they do use their powers, all of a sudden they overpower the adults. So why aren't they using their powers?
Or maybe using that to take out the Wolverine clone, or the main bad guy, or something that might be beneficial to stop the bad guys from following them. I don't know, just saying.
Yeah, it's all very...
Once again, we're back to convenience here.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, I have powers. I have powers.
That's when Wolverine takes the serum, too, so that he can all of a sudden kick butt again.
But then all of a sudden starts dying.
Yeah.
And can't be saved even by the
serum.
Yeah,
that serum was pretty convenient. It works for a very specific amount of time, and then it just kind of goes away, and then,
And then you can't use the serum really at all.
Yeah.
I really do like the other ending we saw.
Yes. For those of you that haven't seen it, there's a YouTube clip of, the end credit scene with
how it should have ended.
Deadpool shows up and sticks the...
H-I-S-H-E.
No,
how it should have ended.
It's not how it should have ended. It was a live action one that a fan made.
No, the one I showed you was the...
Yes, I know, but that's not the one I'm talking about.
I'm talking about Hishi. H-I-S-H-E. How it should have ended. Great ending to Logan. I really recommend watching it.
Okay. Moving on. Next topic.
I think that's about it. Unless you want to hit some other stuff.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the ending of this movie. The death of Wolverine.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
What is there to say about that it sucked and I didn't cry?
Yeah. People have been ranting all over the internet about how emotionally impactful this ending was, and they left the theater crying and blah blah blah. Well, yeah, I left the theater crying.